Welcome back to another episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Bennett Newsome. I'm the Esports Strategist here at Full Sail University. But most of you may know me as Dammit Bennett out there on the internet. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. And if you've watched before, we're happy to have you back. But Have Game Will Travel is an interview series that focuses on how there's so much more to esports and gaming and streaming than just being, good at the game. So we're going to take a virtual trip with our guests through their journey in the industry. If you do have any questions, be sure to type them in the chat at any time. We'll pull them up on screen. And get them answered for you. So buckle up. Have Game Will Travel starts right now. I would love to introduce iamBrandon, our guest this afternoon. Brandon, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Do like DJ stuff on the side, but overall do a lot of influencer relations work and also like social media management and all that kind of stuff for myself and just like other stuff.
I definitely made a mistake here and I unmuted the wrong channel, so you're gonna have to do that again, Brandon. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Well, perfect, because I messed up a few times. So so hi, my name is Brandon Sinnis. I go by iamBrandon on the internet. My official title is I am the co-owner of a charity company called Softgiving. I'm also a Twitch partner. I'm also a DJ on the side, and I do a lot of like social media management and influencer relations work, just in general, and in my career field. So I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to that. Yeah,
I love it. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, so how did you get started in gaming? Where did this passion come from?
Yeah. So I've had video games like a part of my life, like my entire life. I remember like as a kid, like I used to play like the Sega Genesis and the Atari and 64, of course, and so it just has always been a part of like my family history of gaming was. And I played a lot of video games in college, mainly like with my roommates and stuff like that, who like just playing just the multiplayer games, and that was kind of how I kind of got my start in like online gaming and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until after I got out of college where I really was like playing games because I was looking for a job. So that was what I was doing on like my off time of trying to find a job, was like playing Call of Duty, and just like just a lot of Xbox 360 was like a big thing back when I got out of college. So I was doing a lot of that. So when I was in the kind of process of finding a job, I ended up like trying to I decided I wanted to try to go into the gaming space without like having too much knowledge, but I did a little bit of research, and then that's kind of how it kind of started in that kind of way.
Yeah, I think it's great because I think that interest in gaming starts at a young age. For myself too, we went through the whole generation of consoles over the years, and then it's always elevated into something new, and so that's pretty cool. For me, the very first game that I ever loved was Doom. I remember my parents got it for me for 32X, which was like that thing you plopped on top of the Sega.
Oh yeah, I have it right back here.
There we go. What was the first game that you ever truly loved?
I will definitely say it. I still love this game to this day. It's Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage. Well, I mean the series, but Streets of Rage 1 was the very first game that I really like enjoyed, because I love the music. I love like the characters. I love like the gameplay of it, and so like I like played through all of them, and I was really excited when they like a few years ago released like Streets of Rage 4. So I was like definitely up in there when they did that. But I also have like a Streets of Rage poster like in back here, just kind of as like inspiration. But I was finally able to get like a physical copy of the game a few years ago, so it's just like nice to look at, to be like, hey, when I was like 10 years old, like this game was something that really inspired me in a lot of different ways when it came to gaming and music, because Streets of Rage is definitely full of like a lot of great music and like, electronic music. Which is kind of a passion of mine as well. So
yeah, I mean, well, let's talk about that. I mean, obviously, gaming is a passion of yours. What other passions do you have?
Yeah, so I took up the hobby, as I like to say. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm doing it as a professional of DJing, mainly because like I like along with gaming, like I was very interested in just like electronic music, as I like to say, and like the nightlife in Chicago was like something that I was like a part of for a little bit. And when quarantine was happening and like we're all inside and we couldn't go anywhere, I decided to kind of face my fears and try to like learn how to do it. So I started actually like streaming my process of learning how to do it on Twitch. And so like I literally was like on Twitch streaming it.
That's awesome.
Trying to figure out how to do it. And I ended up, at least getting the basics of it to like at least like play for longer than 2 minutes. So that was good. So then after that, I ended up being able to actually do like in-person gigs. So I've been since last September, been doing gigs like in person, which has been pretty cool. So I'm like, I have a lot this month that I'm doing. But yeah, like I've just been trying to hone my craft on it. And it's been really cool to see people's reactions to it, because I was always nervous about like what people would think or if they would take me seriously, because like, obviously a lot of people know me from doing the streaming stuff and like that. And so like when I kind of wanted to do this as well, it's been, a little bit of the same process of what I dealt with starting as a streamer, but now like being like, just like a little baby DJ, as I like to say. But it's really cool to see people see my passion about it, and then like, understand that this is not just me just like being like, oh, let me try to do this. And I feel like I'm pretty decent at it,
yeah, that's awesome.
to the point. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you just, did it on Twitch. Hey, I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna do it. And you guys joined me for that. And I think that's such a cool part of Twitch, is that you can try something completely new and share that experience with other people, and really makes it, a unique and special kind of experience for your viewers and everyone that's along for the ride, right? Awesome. So you graduated from Northern Illinois University. What did you study there? And do you feel like that's really helped you later in your career?
Yeah. So when I first went to Northern, like my intentions was that I wanted to become an English teacher. So I went there and I started like in the teaching program and all that kind of stuff. But life kind of changed courses. And so I decided to like go more into journalism. Okay. And so I had a let me see, it's been so long. So I had my major was English studies. So I was doing a lot of English, like literature and stuff like that. And then my minor was communication. So when I think back to a lot of stuff that I learned from like, those communications classes I had, like I actually was able to transfer those skills over to things that I've done now. Yeah. Like I had to do like a lot of script writing for different like medias and stuff like that, and creating like radio scripts and stuff like that. And recently last year I like did my own first like radio script myself. So it was really cool to kind of see the process of like what I learned in college, and like having to actually read it myself, be like, oh yeah, I know like what these things mean. Like it's been a long time, but I remember what like me writing it and actually having to perform it live. Now I understand what these mean. So even though I went in a different direction, I do feel that like, the college experience for me was definitely like, I needed that. Like I needed to kind of grow up and understand what was the next portion of my life and what I need to do. And so even though I did not become a teacher, I kind of used some of those skills that I learned during my college career. I actually kind of used it towards like what I do like in the content creation space now, when it comes to like kind of teaching other content creators like how to do the things that I did, or what kind of things they could do to better their content. So I kind of use what I learned, even though I wasn't a teacher, but try to teach others of what they can do better than I could do for myself.
Yeah, definitely. And on your YouTube channel, there's a ton of different tutorials and things like that, which I think is cool, because there is a lot of connectivity between, what you had gone to school for and what you're doing now. But it also showcases the fact that there's so many options out there. There's so many ways to do things differently, which is always a cool thing. Obviously, Twitch, a huge part of your career here. You're a Twitch partner, and you started streaming around like 2016-ish. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So how did you discover Twitch? Like, what was that thing that you're like, oh, hey, this thing exists, I'm gonna go try this?
Yeah. So basically, like when I got out of college, like when I was looking for a job, the main thing that I kept running into was that I didn't have like a portfolio of experience to show like the jobs that I was applying for, which that I always suggest to like anybody who's in college, make sure that you do like internships, because that was one thing I did not do. And I ran into the issue where it's like, oh, I don't have anything to show for it. So like I said, at the time I was playing a lot of video games, and So I decided to create my own like website blog that talked about video game news and reviews and all that. And so from there, I really wanted to focus on like, this is this is one of my passions that I've always wanted to do. Let me talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I got like into the social media aspect of like, creating a website and trying to promote it online. So, I got a Twitter account, like a Facebook, a YouTube channel, all that stuff. Twitch was a part of that. And then luckily for me, like when I started posting like the different articles that I was putting out there online, I got like a following of people who were actually coming to my website and reading. And then I was able to build this like community of people who were into like the indie like gaming websites, because like IGN was around and stuff like that, but it was like I was definitely super indie, but very like inspired by IGN, of course. And so like, when it was online and like on Twitter and on Facebook, like, people were starting to reach out to me, be like, hey, like, do you guys have staff on the website and all that kind of stuff? And I was like, no, it's just me, but here we are. And then luckily I was able to get like a really great staff of people who started to work with me on it. And one of them had mentioned this website called Twitch, where like, we can stream, ourselves and stuff like that. So at the time I was like, okay, well, if you know anything about Twitch, go ahead and stream on it. And he did for a little bit, and then he decided that he wanted to start his own channel so he can just kind of have his like own following and not just like the website that I own's following. So it left no one to stream on the channel. So I was like, well, hey, like, I own this website, I should be the one on there. And luckily at the time I had a capture card that will allow you to stream from it.
Yeah.
And so I used that to kind of just like see how I could do it, which like my very first stream was like The Walking Dead with no camera, no microphone, no anything. Just gameplay.
Just
gameplay, me trying to figure it out. And from there I just really started to stream a lot more. And then I started to realize it was like streaming on Twitch was more about like your personality more than just like trying to promote a website. And so, I started playing games that I really enjoyed and games I played when I was younger and games I never played before. And so I started to gain an audience of people who were kind of like around my age who like these same kind of games. And from there, it kind of just like started to kind of grow. And when I saw I could make it into like a career and do more stuff with it, I decided to like do everything I could to just like get my name out there, try to, become a Twitch partner, because, obviously I wasn't a partner all the time. Right. And just like do everything I could to try to get my name out there and try to expand my career as like, at the time I didn't think about it, but didn't know, but like as a content creator. So from that, Twitch really did help me get into the space I'm in now. Like I would not be where I am now without, streaming on Twitch. So
yeah, I can firmly say the same for myself. It's pretty incredible. What a platform like Twitch and YouTube and all the other ones as well that can really make and open a lot of other doors that maybe you thought weren't open or available at all, which is really cool. So
yeah.
You talk about your website a little bit. Was this the urggaming.com website?
Oh, yeah, this was the UGL Gaming website. It no longer exists anymore because, all of us kind of broke and did our own thing. But like, I felt like for our website, it was meant to do that. Like when I first made it, it was meant to be a portfolio for me to kind of showcase like what I can do. But like when everybody else was joining on there, like I wanted everybody to be able to springboard off of like the website and be able to do like their own careers and go in their own paths, which for quite a few of us who like I'm still in contact with, like definitely they are in the field that they wanted to do, which is great. Yeah, it was a great time in my life because it was something new and exciting that I never ventured to do before. It was a lot of research that I had to do to like learn how to run a website, how to run a staff of people, how to like do a lot of like editing and all that kind of stuff with like different people's like articles, and then like creating we're just creating a lot of different media, which that was one thing I loved about that kind of time period in my life, because we're trying to do so much stuff. We're doing podcasts, we're doing YouTube videos. One of the podcasts that we created that was based off of the website like ended up being on our iHeartRadio for a while.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty wild. And we just tried our hardest just to like kind of make it out there. And I remember like the the one place I knew that we kind of really made a really good mark was that, like, we got invited to PAX East, and that was like my very first like out of state like convention. And so I remember we got there, and I was like literally sitting in the media room, and there was like a few people from like IGN in the same room with me, and I was like, wow, like this is not like we're not at the little kids table anymore. Like we're like in here with with these really cool people. And yeah, like that it was like you can really create your own kind of experience and your own kind of portfolio by just like taking something that you really enjoy and just like kind of running with it and seeing where it goes. At least for me, that's how it's been.
Yeah, and obviously that like tied into the journalism stuff that you had gone to school for, and as well you obviously had the interest in podcasting. So like combining it all in one in that website was pretty cool. And you were like the boss too. You were like the editor in chief. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I kind of made myself the boss. Like, we're just gonna do that. But no, it was a really cool experience. And then I was able to, just to connect with so many different people, because like when it came to that, like we were building like a small community of people who were like, we were reaching out to people who were doing tournaments, OGs who were just like, doing different like things like that. So it was just a really, like I said, it was a really cool time in my life that I like got to experience like the gaming community in different aspects of just like not only being a website. It's like, oh, we're connecting with gamers who do this or that,
Yeah, and that's really cool. And I think it gave you a good glimpse into like the industry side of gaming, especially going to PAX and for the first time, like on someone else's dime, they paid for your passes, you're in the media room, you have all this access, which is really cool and kind of eye-opening. So that's awesome. Obviously you also, after the website, you started to kind of fall into like community manager roles, right? And this, you did community management for Golden, Split Media Labs, and Lightstream. Obviously here at Full Sail, we have a ton of students who really are interested in that space of community management. Can you share some guidance, from your experiences as a community manager?
Yeah. So the funny part about like the first job I had like working for Golden was I'm convinced they found me from the website, because there's no way. I don't know how they found me, but one day I received an email from somebody who was like recruiting, social media managers, and obviously at the time I was doing like my own website, and then when I did the interview and everything, they didn't tell me what what company I'd be working for, because it was like a marketing agency, so they were working with like multiple different like companies. So like I ended up getting the job. I was super excited. It was like my very first like big boy job, I remember, because I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna work downtown in the city and all this kind of stuff.
Gonna go up in an elevator.
Oh yeah, awesome. It was an elevator. It was like in this really big building. It was like in the John Hancock building. And so I ended up finding out that I was gonna be working for McDonald's and doing McDonald's social media. So that was like a big deal to me, because I was like, obviously people know what McDonald's is, and that job was really, really cool for me, because I really got to learn like how social media worked. And this is at a time where brands are just now getting into like using social media and connecting with the audience and their followers and all that kind of stuff. So my job at the time when I was working for them was doing, activations with answering people's questions about McDonald's foods. That was quite an interesting job. But then we also did like a lot of cool activations. Like I remember one of the biggest ones while I was there was like we did something for the Super Bowl, and then there's like a big like push for like the activations that we were doing during the Super Bowl. There was this ad that was coming out that was going to talk about, okay, like if you have a question about McDonald's food, go on their social media and ask them all these questions. I remember like
this.
Yeah. Our Food, Your Questions. That was the name of the activation. And I remember we were all there all night, like ready to answer all these questions and like just like getting everything together. And so like, I did that for about a year, and then I got let go, unfortunately. And so I went back to streaming, because during this time period, I was still streaming on Twitch, and, I was doing both. I was working and I was streaming and doing all that kind of stuff. And so when I was let go from that job, I went back to streaming, and, I was doing that for a little bit, trying to like, make ends meet. And then I decided to go back to my previous retail job, just because I didn't like the fact that I was streaming for as a job. I didn't like that. Luckily, like my community supported me during that time period because it was tough. It was very tough. You know, like I like forcing myself to stream and not being happy with like having to do it. That was always been the thing for me, because I never want to feel like I have to stream to you know make it. Like I stream for fun. That's
Right.
why I continue to do it. And so like during that time period, I was like looking for jobs and stuff like that. And I ended up getting a social media job for the Illinois Lottery. So I was for a while like the person who was posting the numbers on the Facebooks, and I was dealing with the grandmothers who were getting mad about them not winning the lottery. So I had to answer those when they were yelling at me on Facebook. And then I ended up randomly someone that I knew who was working at Split Media Labs, aka XSplit. You know, I had already known from my website. I had networked with him already because we were using XSplit for Twitch and stuff already. And I reached out to him and said like, hey, like, you know, is there like any like American US positions for this job? Because like I know there's like a lot of stuff in the UK that you all are doing, but like I don't really see that much happening in the US. And he let me know like, hey, we don't have like a US community manager, but if you have a resume, love to, you know, send it over. So I sent him my resume. I did the interview, and like, you know, like it took a few weeks, but then I finally got the job. And then like literally the very next day after I got hired by XSplit, I got partnered on Twitch the very next day.
That's awesome.
So it was like I started my journey into the, you know, into the gaming industry, and then like got my like I became a partner on Twitch, which is wild. But like my advice for people who like are interested in wanting to become community managers, like I would say that was one of my favorite jobs before I started doing what I'm doing now, mainly because I love like creating communities and also just communicating with different people. That's what I always loved. So I did like a lot of different things to try to like you know, make that happen. So like I first started with like, we're gonna get into a little bit later, but like I created an event in Chicago that was like kind of a networking event, which was part of that. And like I think narrowing down like what kind of like what is your passions, because like I wanted to work in games, but I didn't know exactly like where games I wanted to do. But I knew the knowledge of like XSplit at the time of like to enough to be like, hey, I know how to explain this to someone who if someone asked me, how do I use your program, I would be able to explain it to them and like answer any questions. And so I nowadays like community managers are very needed, especially in the gaming space, because like they are trying to connect with their users, their following, and get support like that. So I think if you can narrow down like a company or a like I guess like a hobby that you like, you can always look into the job sections of these websites, and they do have like sections where they may have a community manager, or they also like you could send them an email like, hey, like I you know, I really love your brand, this is what I do, I'm like trying to look for a community management job, if you have any openings, I would love to talk to you about it, and this all that kind of stuff. I shot like I went in the dark for my job, and I was able to get it. So I think it's okay to kind of go out there and try to reach out to people, even if like the position is not shown anywhere. Some of these companies may not know that they need it. So like if you show like what you can bring to the table, it may like click in their head of like, hey, you know, maybe we might need a community manager.
Yeah, we may need someone to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's kind of funny because like my job now, like there's a lot of growth within our company, because we're growing very fast, but also like we are finding people who are passionate about what they do, and you know, we're trying to find like where they fit in the company, where we can do more with them and where they can excel at, which has been pretty cool. So that's why I always say like, you know, never be shy of what you want, because like there could be somebody out there who's just looking for you, but they don't know it yet.
Yeah. And we've actually heard that quite a few times on the show, you know, sometimes just having to take a shot in the dark, and that leads to this crazy, you know, career and journey. So always recommend to do that. So we got our first question from chat. It's from Samurai Tank, and she says, I love that you were able to cross over so early on with, you know, iHeartRadio and picking up your content. Do you have any suggestions for content creators on what they can do to try and break through in a similar way?
Okay. So that is a great question, because I was literally talking about this yesterday. So like for me, when I was streaming on Twitch, well, I mean, I stream on Twitch, but like when I first started, I focused way too much on only Twitch. Like my main focus, like I'm going to stream and that is it. Like I'm not doing like anything else. And over the last few years, I definitely realized like I was kind of lacking in other areas that I could be using to like content that I could be using it in different places.
Right.
And so like for the last like few months, I've been trying to be like, hey, you know what? I have this, this Twitch stream that I have. Like I did a full playthrough of this game. Like, why not like cut it up, edit it for YouTube and post it on YouTube? And what I started to learn is that like I started to gain an audience on YouTube who would never watch my Twitch streams, right, but they would only watch the videos on YouTube, which I understood because like when you really cater like content to a specific platform for like people to digest in like a way that they want to, it really resonates with them. And especially like if it's like not the full length thing, especially if someone could have watched it live, they're not going to watch the whole thing like that on YouTube. Right. But I was able to do that. And like now I've been like spreading my content on like TikTok and like recently I just started doing Instagram Reels, which like I've been telling people like get on that too, because Instagram is also trying to like compete with TikTok. So like what they're doing now is that like if you have a certain amount of followers or whatever, they're actually paying people like if you reach a certain amount of plays like a month that they'll give you like I think $1,200 a month for doing that. So I've been trying to cater a lot of my TikTok content that I have on there and putting it on Instagram Reels. And like literally the one I posted yesterday has like let's see, I think like 110,000 plays from yesterday. And like that's the first one that's kind of blown up. And like and it's because the thing from that is that if it starts like blowing up like that, then people see that first video, then they want to see the next one. Then they want to see the next one. So that's what's kind of been trickling down like from the content perspective. But I think trying to spread your content like amongst different like platforms, that is going to be the best way of getting it in places where people are going to hear it. Because for example, like I know a lot of streamers who do a lot of podcasts, like live podcasts like this, but they don't put it like anywhere like in the audio version. And so that's why I always tell people like, hey, maybe you should like post the audio versions on like iTunes or like Apple Podcasts or like Spotify and all that kind of stuff, because that's a different audience that you may be reaching. Because like there's people who get in their cars and they're listening to podcasts all the time who may not watch a live stream, but they'll listen to you talk like on a podcast, which is kind of funny.
Don't drive and watch. Drive and
listen. Don't drive and watch. That's why the listening part is best. But like a really good example is that like a few years ago I started a podcast with a friend of mine. And we were doing like a watch along podcast. It was one of the shows that we love watching as we're teenagers, because like we met like a few years ago and we realized we both like this show, and we're like, you know what, we should like do a podcast about this show and like talk about it. And we started posting it and like starting to see people coming in and listening to it. Unfortunately, the both of us like ran out of time of like actually doing it, but people are now finding the podcast and like have been messaging us and be like, hey, are you guys gonna come back and do it? We're like, I don't think we have time for it. But like that's another avenue that like people just found us from that, because I think what ended up happening is that there's been a little bit of a revival of that show. And so people have been finding like, different medias that are out there for that show that are more recent. So that's how people have found that podcast. So I think never be afraid to spread your content all over the place, because like there's going to be different audiences all over the place. And that's something I definitely learned. Like everybody who follows me on Twitter, definitely don't follow me on Instagram, and definitely don't follow me on TikTok. So, like making sure that you kind of spread it around, and then you can gain a bigger audience from that. Because I know, for example, like one of my TikToks like out of nowhere like blew up and like got like 3.8 million plays. Like it's sitting in that right now, and people from TikTok literally came to my stream and were like, hey, I want to watch you live. I found you from TikTok, which I never thought I would hear that, but that's been happening lately, which has been pretty cool. So learn from me and don't wait to start doing that, because I really wish I did this earlier on, because I think I would have had a bigger impact. But I'm okay with it happening now, because like I'm more prepared to deal with it than years ago.
Sure. I feel like it was like 2018 TwitchCon or 2019 TwitchCon. It was probably 18, and there was a very small TikTok booth, and I just kind of ignored it, and I walked by. I was like, I'm not gonna do any Fortnite dances, you know, like
yeah. I felt the same way about that too.
And man, do I regret it. Like I should have stopped by and just said hello.
Yeah, like I was thinking about that too, because like one of the reasons why I started, because I started to see a lot of people really gain like a lot of like followers and stuff like that on TikTok, which I was kind of shocked by that. And so I made like an effort like last year to be like, you know what, let me try to see if I could do this. Like I don't always do like the TikToks where it's like, oh, let's do this. Like I think everybody has their different like niche and all that kind of stuff. So I was just like, I post these clips on Twitter all the time and people think they're funny. So like, let me like make them into like TikToks and see what happens with that. And like people have enjoyed those. And like, so I've been really trying to create a different experience with the TikToks instead of just like posting on Twitter, like as this like the clip from the stream. Like really editing it so people can like see it and like get a different experience on TikTok, like I was talking about for like YouTube. Like you watch on TikTok, it's different than when you watch it on my stream because there's like a lot of extra like edits and stuff like that make it more funny. So yeah.
That's awesome. So getting back to your career, obviously you did the community manager gigs for a while, and then you also spent some time in like influencer relations and talent recruitment. So obviously you're already someone that falls under the category of talent. What have you learned in that role that can help apply things that you've learned to like your personal brand?
So that is always the most interesting part of like the career I've dealt like that I'm in. But I think it's such a great addition. But I don't think it's for everybody. Because like when it comes to influencer relations, like there's like, you know, the people who don't do this at all, but they work with influencers. Yeah. But like, you know, I fall in the category where like technically I am an influencer working with influencers. Right. But for me, why I love it is because I understand what they deal with and where they come from. And that's why I do connect with like streamers and, you know, content creators like on a deeper level, because it's like, I'm not just a random person who's just like, hey, I've seen your following on this. So I want to work with you, and have no idea anything about what they do. But in general, it's been really fun to like work with streamers. I had to say that because like I go through the same things that they do. So it's just like, like I know what it's like when you have to deal with the troll, or you have to you have tech issues and all that kind of stuff. And I just lost the question. What was I was like,
it was what it did. And as someone that's working in those industries, like, is it something that you found things to bring back to your brand by kind of maybe having that inside knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped me to like when people reach out to me for like opportunities and stuff like that. I definitely knew how to take it, and also how I should like actually reach out to influencers about like, you know, working with them and all that kind of stuff. Because like I know what things to say, what things not to say. I know for me, when people send me things and they're like, oh, I loved your stream. I love the game that you played. And I'm like, okay, what stream, what game did I play? And that's why I make sure to any influencer that I ever work with, I always like look into their content. I vet them before I even reach out to them in the first place, because it's so important. Because like you could like a lot of these people will reach out to influencers and not realize that they don't work for the activation that they have. And so that's why last year was when I actually like get on calls with them and talk to them about like, hey, would you want to do a charity stream? They say, how did you know that I would be good for this specific charity? And I tell them, well, I went through your channel and I watched your VODs, and I got to like, say, for example, if someone like we have there is a animal organization that we work with. So I go through someone's VODs and I look through their stuff and like kind of get a feel of like how they interact with their community and all that kind of stuff. I always say there's like a special vibe about someone who's a charity streamer that you could just tell that they would be good for it, even if they don't know it or not. And so I look at their VODs, see what kind of vibe they have. and then like I see like, oh, do they have any pets? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, do they have any pets? So then like I go through it sounds weird, but then I go through the Instagram, see if they have like a dog or a cat, and people who have like animals are more prone to work with like animal organizations because they have their own pet and they want to do something to help and protect their pets like that. And so that's why I really try to cater to the streamer. Like any charity that like I bring to a streamer, I really do cater it to them. So it's just not like, oh, hey, I'm working with this charity. Do you want to run for them? I don't know if you know anything about them, but you can figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I get a lot of great responses from streamers, just because of the fact that I do watch their content and I get to learn about them. So that's why I say to like all content creators, it's definitely important to make sure you have your contact information like on your channel. That's great. Have all your social links linked, because like people do look through that. Because definitely through the all the jobs I've worked with, I always would have to go through someone's channel. And there's been so many streamers who I've had to pass up opportunities just because they had no sort of way to contact them. And they're perfect, but it's like, well, if I can't contact you, I can't do anything about that.
Exactly.
So that is why, like, you may or may not see me say on Twitter every blue moon, hey, make sure your email's in your bio. Like I say that every once in a while, because like there's gonna be that one person like, you know what, maybe I should do it this time. And
the second part is like
out.
checking that email, right?
Oh yeah, the other part is checking the email. That's why I usually will send a follow-up like maybe like a day or two after, because like my job now, sometimes my emails get sent in, like they go into the spam and
folder,
check your spam folder too, because that happens a lot. But that's why I always follow up with like a little joke. I'm like, hey, I'm just checking if you got it. And sometimes land to the spam folder, because it does. I don't know why, but you know, it happens here and there. But like, yeah, working with influencers and content creators has definitely helped me understand a little bit more about like how I should approach like brands and stuff like that, and how they should approach me, because I would rather have someone really know like my content instead of just saying that they do and they really don't. And like the one great example I would say is like a great example of like a brand that I work with who really did their research on me was Amazon Luna, because I work with them now. And when I first started working with them, like I was in a call with them, which was like, I was like, oh my god, there's like 50 people here for me, that's weird. I'm still not used to that. And you know, we were talking about like, you know, one of the activations that I did last year with them, and like they had like, you know, they created this whole thing where it's like, it was about like me being a DJ and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I talk about it on Twitter and stuff like that, but like they like really looked into me as a creator and we're like, you know, how can we build you into our brand so it fits and it sounds correct. And so that's why I always think it's really cool when like, you know, someone who reaches out really knows the creator that they're talking to, instead of just kind of like blindly sending out emails. Because I mean, that's why a lot of people pass on this stuff, because they feel like they're not like, they're just kind of like a random person that they're being sent an email to.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Yeah.
And that genuine aspect is huge too. You know, they took the time to get to know you and build something around you, which is awesome. We got another question here from the chat, which is from Jacob is Nachos. What's your advice for keeping a healthy streaming and life balance?
Jacob, I will have to tell you, I still have not found the answer to that one myself. Because like I feel like I'm built a little differently, because I've just like I have a really big problem with like I don't like sitting around by myself. I like to do something all the time. So that's why I'm constantly always doing something. But for me, like I like obviously my main job is like, you know, first and foremost. So I always take care of that first. And then like, you know, streaming, I try to have a set schedule when it comes to streaming. Like I stream 3 times a week. I stream for 3 hours. I mean, I don't do like, I'm not a full-time streamer. My community knows that, you know, I just, you know, this is the time I allow myself to stream. And then I do that. And then like my social life as well. I try, it's important to go outside. It's very important to go outside. So like I take off the weekends. Because I want to enjoy my weekends. I don't want to have to worry about streaming. The few times I have streamed on the weekends, something has always gone wrong. Like, so I think it's like the universe be like, Brandon, just don't stream on the weekends. But I think it's like it's possible to definitely have like, you know, a streaming and life balance, but you have to really take the time to figure out how that schedule works for you. Like I know there's a lot of streamers who are out there grinding 8-9 hours for, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. everybody works differently. So I always feel like the advice that I have on that is not going to be like 100%, but I don't think that you need to grind for like 8 or 9 hours
Yeah.
per stream unless you just really want to stream that much. That's fine. I have always felt like my little small bursts of streams, like of like 3 to 4 hours, like maybe 3 or 4 days a week, have always they always turn out great. You know, like because like my community are now known, like they know I'm going to be here for this amount of time.
Right.
You know, if Brandon's live, let's make sure we're here because he won't be here in a few days. So it's like the balance of finding streaming in life is very important. And one thing I always say is like, if you do not feel like streaming, never push yourself to do it. It is the worst thing to do. I have been horrible at listening to my own advice, and I have pushed myself to stream, and I've gotten off early because I didn't want to do it. Like obviously, like taking the rest that you need is very important. Definitely like vacation, like series don't get vacations, but like taking a break from being on camera, and from entertaining people is very important. Like last year, I really learned that I needed to do that more. So I'm still trying to find that balance between like, you know, the stream life balance, work balance, because it's a lot.
Yep.
But it's I guess for every person, you have to really figure out like how much time do you want to allot yourself to streaming, how much time do you want to allot to your relaxing life, and then how much do you really have to do for your work life, because you know obviously work is important. But it's just like, I guess it's everybody's personal, I guess, feeling. I still haven't found that one yet, so I'm still working on it. So I don't think that answered your question, but hopefully that gave you like some sort of advice on that.
Definitely. And I totally agree with you. You know, back in the day when I first started streaming, I was always like, I'm going to put it in so many hours. And even back then it was like, if the longer you streamed, it did have sometimes a positive effect because the bigger streamers would get off and then they would rate someone. But it doesn't exactly work like that anymore. You know, smaller communities have been formed on Twitch, and so it's not the same as it was. But I always tell people, like, if you want to stream for 8 hours, cool, but maybe stream for 4 hours, and then that other 4 hours, download your clips, edit your clips, put them on YouTube. You know, do the hard work after in that same time frame.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I was gonna say that's super important. Like, especially as a streamer, like what I usually always do is that like once I get off the stream, I take like that time I just finished to go through my clips, see what I want to post. But I stream like really late, so I try not to post too late because like a lot of people are sleeping.
Yeah.
Sometimes I kind of do it because I'm really excited to post it. But like, yeah, I'll go through my clips and see what I want to post the next day. Because one thing that's super important is that, like, you know, definitely posting moments from your stream onto social media is super important for those people who may not have caught the stream, or people who've never seen you before and they just happen to, like, someone retweets your clip and they see like, oh, you're really cool, you're really funny, I want to check out your stream, like, let's check it out. That is a great way of getting people in, just by like something that you already have. And most of the time, like, your own viewers are clipping these clips themselves. I also have like a clip button on my stream deck, on my Elgato stream deck, where basically where I know like something funny has happened, I clip it myself just so I have that marker and I can just go back to it. But yeah, I use that time after stream to, like, you know, answer emails, send out emails, talk to people, you know, watch other streamers if I have the time. And just like get content ready for, you know, posting over the next few days.
Yeah.
And then and just getting that going. Cause like, yeah, if you get it like a schedule together of like content that you want to post, like I post every day. I post every day. Like Twitter, like obviously tweets are easy to do, but like when it comes to like making videos and stuff like that, I like, you know, Instagram, I post I think 5 days a week. And then like TikTok, I have a schedule of like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's because like when you look at the analytics of, like, you know, the social media, you can actually see like obviously like what time your audience is like around and watching stuff. And so that's why I kind of have centered my content schedule around when people are watching. So it's like if you see a TikTok come out from me around 1 p.m., that is on purpose. That is purposely done at that time. Yeah,
that just happens to be when everybody's looking, right?
Yeah, yep. Because they're like at lunch, or they're like on the bus, or they're doing something at the time, so they're like scrolling through, and that's how when they see it. Yeah,
I love it. So in 2020, obviously a lot of things happened in 2020, but some really cool things happened for you. CBR.com recognized you as one of the 7 LGBTQIA Twitch streamers that you should follow because of how welcoming and supportive your communities are. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about your community on Twitch and getting that recognition there from CBR?
Yeah. So my community is great. I gotta say that. Like it's full of really great like-minded individuals who are very open to people. Like, you know, we have people who are in the LGBT community, obviously in there, and just like a mixture of like everybody, but it's like a lot of people who I feel are around like my age, like, you know, 20s to 30s. Like there are people who have been in my community since they're like, you know, in high school, which is weird to say. But like, you know, it's like a lot of people who are into nostalgia, you know, horror, because like that's a big thing that like is on my channel. And like we've raised a lot of money for charity over the years, which is like before I started working for Softgiving, like that was a main thing that I was doing. Like, you know, on my personal like stuff, like one thing that I'll always be proud of is that like, you know, we ended up raising like $4,000 in like 2 days for like Gamers Outreach a few years ago. And so like that was at a time where I was just like, I was kind of feeling low on myself about being a streamer. And also like when I was doing that event, I was like surrounded by like all these like big name streamers. And I'm like, I'm sitting over here with like, you know, not that many viewers, but we're gonna see what happens. And so I went in there with the like expectation of like, okay, well, like I'll say let's try to raise 300. Like let's do that. I think that's good. And then like, you know, the first day it was like, oh, we're at 2,000. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I was not expecting that to happen, but okay. And so like, you know, we ended up raising like 4,000 in general. And what ended up happening was that we were able to raise enough money for like a gaming go-kart for like awesome. a children in the hospital. So like in one of the hospitals in Chicago, Lurie's Children's Hospital, there's like a gaming cart that's like, you know, in the honor of like iamBrandon in this community that kids are playing with till this day, which has been pretty cool. But like the one thing about my community has been great is that they've been very understanding that they know I'm not a full-time streamer.
Right.
They know I have a job. They know that I like, you know, when I do stream, I try to put my best into it. And, you know, they don't like really like, oh, you're not streaming? What's going on? But like when I do stream, like every time, and still to this day, it happens to this day. I think this happens to every streamer, but like, especially if I take a long break, if it's like a week to 2 weeks or something like that, every time I hit the start button, I get so scared. I'm like, no one's gonna show up. No one's gonna show up. I'm gonna be sitting here by myself. And it is that first high. They're like, okay, we're good. We're good. I can do this. And then like, you know, I obviously gradually, like as I'm live, you know, people are coming in and out like, hey, Brandon, what's up? Good to see you. How are you? You know, and I guess, you know, obviously responding, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, my community is very welcoming. We deal with no nonsense. So it's very obvious when there's like a troll that comes in and tries to do something because everybody stops and they're like,
banish them.
Yeah, you gotta go. You're not gonna make it here.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
But yeah, it's just they are really awesome. It's just an awesome community because like they let me play what I want, which is one of the things I think is so important because I know when it comes to Twitch, a lot of people are like racing for numbers and want to be the highest number streamer. Like, of course, I would love that. And I've had really big numbers where it's like 20,000 people to like, I don't know, 50 people to 20. But like for me, what's the most important is that I play the things that I want. And then also that like the people who are watching me know that I'm enjoying what I'm playing. And I'm not playing something for a view or trying to be the top of the category, you know what I mean? Like I was playing America's Next Top Model on the Wii 2 days ago, and like everybody was in it with me, which was great because it was like a reality show. Like we were all in it together, like kind of like going through this game that I bought for $2 because I saw it on Twitter, and like, you know, we were enjoying this experience because it's very random and weird. It's like, okay, well, let's play this reality show game and see where it goes. Of course, I got eliminated week 2, but that's okay. That was a part of the experience. So, you know, that's what it is. That's what it is.
So the $2 games are the way to go.
That's right here. We have it. America's Next Top Model for the Wii. Tire Base is not even in it, I don't think. But this is, you know, we played this for 2 weeks and I got kicked off the second day because
oh man,
I didn't do enough working out apparently, and I ate a cookie. So. That's definitely not allowed in that game.
Yeah, don't eat the cookies, I guess.
Don't eat the cookies.
Oh man. So okay, so you also in 2020 won the best new streamer broadcaster at the Golden Joystick Awards. Tell us about that honor and tell us kind of what it did for you and your channel and your community.
Yeah, so like one day I was like on Twitter, and then like I was like getting tagged in like on Twitter. I was like, what is going on? I don't know what this says. And I saw I was nominated, and I was like, oh, okay. This is cool.
Yeah.
And so like, the nominations went out, and then like, the voting process went out, and like I did not think I was gonna win, because like the people who I was like up with, like definitely all great individuals, but like definitely had like, larger like, reaches than I did. So I was like, I'm not gonna win this. There's no way. But I still put my put my effort out there, and like just told people like, hey, if you want to vote, feel free to do that. And they reached out and they messaged me, and they're like, hey, so you won. And I was like, oh, oh, me, okay, that's okay, cool. And so like I sat on the information for a while, and it was kind of funny because like, like I don't do it as much anymore, but I dealt with a lot of like Twitter trolls a lot. I luckily have, it has not been as bad as it's been in the past, but literally the day before, it was announced I won, someone was basically like kind of saying like, oh, they're basically saying like, I was not making an impact in the streaming community because I don't have like 2 million followers like
Right.
the big streamers have. And I was just like, okay, all right, well, I guess I'm not making an impact now. And so like the very next day, it got announced that I won, and then I went back to the person's tweet, and I was like, oh, here's the tweet, I just won this Game of the Year award, the Streamer of the Year award. And they're like, oh, well, I'm in this kind of way. No, too late. You said what you said. That was when I was in my petty stage of being a streamer. It was a great honor. I actually have the it's back there. I can't. Well, it's back there.
It's back there.
It's back there. Yeah. But no, it was a really great honor to be able to do that. And then I presented again this year for them. I don't think they did a streamer award this year, but I mean, it's great to be like, hey, I'm an award-winning streamer. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Which is like, I never thought that being a streamer or just like being myself would give me an award in that kind of way. Maybe because like when I started streaming, I did it because like I was lonely. Like, when I was growing up, I had a lot of people who did not understand my sense of humor and personality. So when I started streaming, I found a lot of people who started to understand my humor and started to connect with me. And so when I got the award, it really made me feel like, you know what, maybe like it was just those people just didn't get me, and I just needed to find my tribe, or just be more confident in myself and not feel like, oh, well, these people don't understand me. There's something wrong with me, which we know that's not the case now.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot to that. I mean, I think being able to be yourself on your channel and finding a community that's like, yo, we're with you, like, And that's a huge thing for anybody, but obviously for a streamer, it's even better. So congrats on the award, because obviously you're doing great things. And you also were the creator behind, or one of the creators behind Twitch Chicago, which is like a Twitch support network that brings together streamers that are based in Chicago. Tell the audience a little bit about Twitch Chicago and how you helped to bring that community together.
Yeah, so that happened when I was when I worked at Golden. So basically on like when I wasn't working, because sometimes I would slack. I'm not gonna lie, I was slacking. Sometimes. We won't
tell them. Don't
okay, yeah, I don't think they can be mad at this point. I don't work for them now. But yeah, I would be on the Twitch Reddit, which Reddit is kind of but I was on the Twitch Reddit, and I remember I saw like a post that like somebody was talking about there was like a New York Twitch meetup happening, and it was being ran by Swifter. And I remember reading it, and I was like, oh my God, I wish there was one in Chicago. Like, that'd be cool if we had that here. And I don't remember if I like responded to him or like I tweeted at him or something, but like I basically was like, oh, like I wish I could do that. And I think he responded like, oh, you should start your own. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, cool. So like me and him DM'd like during that time period, and like he was kind of telling me a little bit about like how to get started. And so from there I was like, you know what, let me really do this. I think this would be really cool to start like something in Chicago. So luckily when I was working on when I was doing stuff for UGR, I had already done like events and like learned how to find venues and stuff like that. So with that experience, I used it. So basically I found the venue that I thought would work. And then I basically just like went on social media and just like looked up Twitch Chicago and just like looked for streamers who were mentioning living in Chicago who were streamers on Twitch and like reached out to them, created social media for the Twitch Chicago account. Was able to get like the very first one was like 30 streamers, and which was really good for like a very first one. And then from there it kind of grew, and it kept growing, like it just never stopped. And then it got to the point where people were like literally coming out of state to come to our events, which was really cool to see. And then we were able to like work with like really bigger sponsors, get bigger venues and stuff like that. The last event that I did, which I ended up kind of retiring it and like giving it over to a friend of mine to kind of take it over, was at a venue called the Metro here in Chicago, which is like, there's a lot of like musicians that play there and all that kind of legendary, which like obviously we were their very first like gaming event in this space ever, obviously, awesome. Which was so wild. And it was really cool to see like the room, obviously this was before COVID, but like packed full of people. And I felt like that was the greatest way I could have went out with that event, because it was like the final one was in this really big legendary venue, seeing so many people from all over coming to just like hang out and network and do all the Twitch stuff. And I'm very proud to say that like I know it's been kind of because it's been a little different since like COVID and stuff happening, but like Chicago is definitely up there in the top like cities or like countries, cities that were doing Twitch Chicago, Twitch meetups and stuff like that. So it took like quite a few years, but like to be recognized by Twitch to do that was really cool, and being able to work for them officially. Because before I was like on my own doing it and just like kind of willy-nilly it, and then one day Twitch was like, hey, we love what you're doing, but there's some copyright issues in what you're doing, so let's try to work together on this. So I was like, okay, I don't want y'all to sue me for this, so let's work together. It's really cool to see that like Twitch Chicago is still continuing. So they're having their next event in a few months at the Metro once again. Nice. So I'm gonna be going there and I'm gonna support as an attendee for the very first time, because I've never ever attended this event. I've always organized it for like the last 2 years. So I'm gonna be very glad to go there and not worry about anything. That's awesome. Because the stresses of like those events were always like, it was a lot, but like it was definitely worth it with the payoff that would happen.
For sure. So. So we obviously, we only have a few minutes left, so we're going to hit some questions, but I did want to take some time before we kind of wrap things up to talk about Softgiving. You're the co-owner. Tell us a little bit about that service and what it does.
Yeah, so for anybody who's out there who's like a streamer or content creator, so Softgiving is a website / company that we work with different charity organizations that they want to get to the streaming space, and they want to like work with streamers. And so like my main job, and like a lot of people on my team's main job, is that we basically go out there, we find streamers who would be like great fits for the organizations that we partner with. It ranges from like children's hospitals to cancer research to LGBT organizations, shelter, what else, animal welfare, just like the range is a lot, veterans and all that kind of stuff, like it's a lot. So basically like we go out there, we find streamers who would be great fits for the organizations that we partner with. So I started there in officially a year ago. And I found the job because like I was like, I was doing influence relations beforehand, and I was just not happy where I was at, because I wasn't working with streamers as much as I wanted to. So I found this job, and I at first thought it was fake, because I was like, there's no way this is right. There's no way, but I applied anyway because I was like, it sounds too good to be true, but let's see. And I went through the whole process and ended up like going through the interview process, and it was funny because I like we had been talking about charity earlier, but like I had already been doing my own charity event for years beforehand, like that I do like biannually, which is called the Scareathon, where you basically get like 30 different broadcasters all on the same channel. We're all raising money for the same causes. We're all playing scary games for like 3 days straight. And so like in the process of that event, I had to like go through different streamers who would apply, see if they were good for the event, because like not every streamer would be, or some are, you know what I mean? So like this kind of fell into the same exact thing. So I was like, wait, I was already doing this like on my own. Are you saying I can do this for a job? okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that. And then like, yeah, I had been doing it for quite a few months, and then there, you know, we got a lot of traction during the whole Ukraine crisis. Because we started working with CARE, and like, you know, they really wanted to find streamers to really help them because they were out there, you know, trying to help out there in Ukraine. And so like I did a really big call to action to try to see who we can pull like together in such a quick amount of time. And like the responses that I got was just like a lot, a lot for one person. And so like luckily we have a great team of people who like are able to work with streamers this kind of way. So we're able to like really bring a lot of great streamers in to help out with Ukraine and their communities, being so generous and you know, donating to CARE and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, a few months ago, like I was in a meeting with, you know, the CEO and my supervisor, and, you know, we're talking and I'm like, am I getting fired? And they're like, no, absolutely not. And so, you know, they were talking to me about it, and they were like, you know, we really love what you do, and like, you know, the people that you bring in, and, you know, like how much that you have helped us grow. Like, we want you to be a part of this. And so like, we would love for you to be the co-owner. And I was like, me? Like, are you sure me? Like, that's a big thing. Like, that's a grown-up title. And I'm like that. But I said, yeah, because like I mean, being a co-owner of a company is pretty big.
Yeah. It's huge.
But yeah, it's huge. But two, like, you know, I really love my job, and it's been super fulfilling to be able to just like, I think for me, what has always been so cool to see is, you know, we get to work with streamers who do charity work all the time, but we also add additional support for them, so it helps them out even more. But then seeing the streamers who have never done any sort of charity streams at all, and like, you know, work with them from the very beginning, being like, hey, let's talk about this and how you can, you know, do this like with your community, how we can get everybody involved, and then seeing them, you know, launch the charity stream, and to see for them to see like what they did and what their community did afterwards, that is always like the payoff for me, because it's like, you know, people don't realize their potential until they actually have someone who believes in them, who will help them see that potential. And then once they get there, then it's over. You know what I mean? Then they want to do more. So that's why we have a lot of great streamers who are really great, like just advocates and ambassadors for us in general, because of like what we do to help them like succeed. You know what I mean? Like we and that's why it's like super important for us, like in our company in general, to have conversations with streamers. Like, yeah, we reach out to them via email, but it's like we get on calls with streamers and talk to them and have a relationship with them and get to know them as people, which I think has always been why a lot of the streamers who I talk to say yes, because like I'm a person outside of the words on the email that's sent it to them. Because, you know, I get a lot of those emails too, where people are asking me to do charity things, and I'm just like, if you would have done your research, you would know that I work for this company, and I would not suggest for me to use this one. So I know you didn't do your research a lot, but like, you know, it is really about that, because when I get on calls with the streamers, we really do kind of talk about, you know, it's nice to talk to another streamer, because when I do this, I feel like I'm by myself and I can't talk to anybody else, because it's a lonely job, because, you know, sometimes streamers are just doing their own thing and they don't get to talk to other streamers. Like, not everybody has the luxury of like going to TwitchCon or a convention to meet other people. So like these opportunities where I get to talk to other streamers and hear their stories, and then talk to them about like what we can do to help them with their charity events, really helps, gets them motivated and excited to do something good for the world. So yeah,
that's awesome. And obviously outside of streaming, you know, you champion diversity in the games industry and beyond. Can you describe your diversity, equality, and inclusion efforts?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I can't really hide who I am. So here we are. But the one thing about me when I first started in this whole space, like even before I started like my website, I knew from like the first day, I was like, I'm not going to fit in with the norm gamer crowd. So I already knew I had like something against me already. So for me, I was like, okay, well, if people are just not going to enjoy that I'm here, then I might as well shake the table while I'm here. And so like I like, you know, I got really vocal on Twitter about like a lot of different things, especially like in the Twitch space for sure. you know, a lot of stuff was going on that I was not happy with. And especially like, you know, especially in gaming, I felt like, you know, everybody should be represented in their own way. And of course there's like people who are going to be against that because, you know, people are not great. Not everybody's great, unfortunately. But I feel like representation matters a lot in gaming, because like the world is full of so many unique people, and it's unfortunate that we have so many gatekeepers who are just like, no, I want it like this. I don't want this in my games. I don't want politics in my games. I don't want this in my games. Well, I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of these games that they love and enjoy have politics in it, especially like, you know, a good example, Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, you can't talk about that. That game literally is about politics. Like, hello. But like I said, like I feel like I always have wanted is that, like, you know, I never want to feel like, I don't want anybody to feel like how I felt going through this industry when I first went through the first time. I mean, there's not gonna be a second time, but like when I first started, because like I had no one I could look up to who like looked like me, who identified as me, that I can be like, okay, this is someone I could look at to, you know, kind of model what I want to do as. So I always wanted like everybody who came behind me to be like, you know what? Oh yeah, Brandon's here. Like, okay, like I could do this. Like I feel like I'm accepted and I could be in this kind of space. And one of the major things that I really, really still can remember that I feel like is the pivotal point that I was like, okay, this is bigger than me. Like a few years ago, like I was on like a D&D show called Rivals of Waterdeep, which is still on. But it was like a D&D show, like you know, it was ran by Wizards of the Coast. And so like, you know, the whole cast was full of POC people. And like I had never played D&D before. And so like, but that was a part of the whole thing. It was about like, you know, bringing in people who never played D&D ever, and like teaching them how to learn, like, you know, in the show. And I remember we did our very first show live in front of like a live audience, and I'm like sitting here in my costume, and I'm like, I gotta count dice in front of people. And I remember like, because it was live streamed too, and when we got off the show, I remember like there were so many messages coming in and people being like, wow, I've never seen like someone who looks like me sitting at a D&D table. Like that's what I've always wanted to do. And when that happened, I was just like, you know what, this kind of stuff is like, it's bigger than, you know, me. This is like people seeing themselves in me and making them want to be a part of a hobby that they always wanted to try. That is why like it's been such a blessing and very interesting to see how much like the streaming / like Twitch community has changed since I started. Like now it's like, it's full of people, like diversity is there. It is very there. So it can't, like, people can be like, I don't know like any black people. I don't understand. Like, you know, there's a lot of different variety all over the place now. And to see so many of the streamers who have come up behind me and see them succeeding in this space as well, that is what I wanted. And so like, you know, I want people behind me to not have to struggle as much as I did. But I also don't want to have to struggle even more, you know what I mean?
Right.
But no, it's been really cool. And I've like everybody who has, I guess, has come through and has seen me and has understood my message of like what I put out there, it helps me to continue. You know what I mean? I never really see myself like not in this space. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing in like 60 years. Like, we'll see. Right. But like I want to continue growing because I know there's so much more that I can do, because I don't want to be just known as, oh, he's just a Twitch streamer, because I'm not, and I never wanted to just be that. It's just like one of the assets that I have, but there's more to me than that. So I'm just really looking forward to the future, because I know that there's good stuff on the horizon, hopefully. But my thing is like, I'm just waiting for that one person to just like see my potential and be like, you know what, let me just give them a chance, and then they'll see if they made the right choice. So if you're out there, you know.
I like it. Well, we got the lightning round here. So there's a couple questions from chat. So we'll get into those real quick. First, from Samurai Tank again. Can you recommend some other streamers in the LGBTQIA plus community that we should check out?
Okay, so there's so many. Okay, so Deer is a drag queen, great streamer. Kiwi on the Sticks as well. Me, Lady
Kiwi's
Confetti. Awesome. Let me think. Cypher of Tier, one of my great friends from Chicago, great person. Make sure you check them out. Jesus. Oh, is there a certain amount of numbers? Or should I just keep going?
Keep going.
Okay, keep going.
Bring the shout outs. Let's go.
Okay, let me see. I will say, even though I don't want to say it, Blizz Bear, but no, that's a joke. Who else? Let me see. Critical Bard is great as well. Let me see. Drag Trashly, one of my favorites from Chicago, also a drag queen. Let me see. Sunfister from Chicago, one of my friends who's a Twitch partner who is here. I'm like, why have I running out of names? I know a lot of people. let me see. Let me just try to think of one more.
Okay.
Well, I cannot think. I can't think of anybody.
Okay.
My head is just like blank.
I think that was solid. That was a solid shout out. So we'll definitely check out those broadcasters. We also have a question from Hindsight. What is your favorite social media platform to work on?
Oh, wow. That is okay. So, okay. I mean, I've always excelled at Twitter because I like to meme a lot.
Okay.
But then I a lot of my ideas come out on Twitter. And I think that's where a lot of my following has come from, because like I've never been afraid to talk about like the knowledge that I've grown and like gained from being a streamer. So like when I first started, like a lot of information was like kind of gatekept, and people were like, "Oh, well, I don't want people to know what I do, because I don't want people to like also do this too." So I was like, "No, like, hey, don't do that. Here, this is what I do. Don't do that. Do this so you can better yourself." So Twitter has always been the fun one for me. I'm starting to kind of like TikTok as well. I'll say that. I need to get back into YouTube a little bit as well, but I'm trying to find out like a good avenue of like, you know, trying to change it up so it's just not like the same thing. Cause like, I feel like now there's so many people putting advice, like videos out there and all that kind of stuff, where that kind of information is not always needed. But I think, I would say Twitter and TikTok for now. And I never thought I would say TikTok.
I know, right?
I think it's because it's like the new audience who's discovering me is the best part. You know what I mean? I feel like an old man who's like, oh my God, the kitties are fine to be on the internet.
We've got one last question from the chat here, and this is from Alpha Chino. He says, Brandon, when you started streaming, did you know what kind of content you wanted to put out?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So when I first started streaming, I was not being myself. I was like trying to be super family friendly, because I thought that was what was going to make me be able to, you know, excel, because I was just like, oh, you know, like, maybe if I'm family friendly, people will feel like comfortable with like just being in my channel, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But then I really didn't feel like I was being myself. And I started just being like, you know what, like, yeah, I curse sometimes. Yeah, I play some games that are kind of like, you know, immature. Like, you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna put the mature rating. Like, you're not supposed to be here if you're not this age. But I like when I didn't know what I was like. I did not know what to play. But I definitely was playing certain games to try to this will give me a lot of viewers if I play this certain game. I may not like it, but I'm gonna do that. And then once I started kind of finding my niche, which was like which is kind of weird to say. Like I started speed running the game Outlast, and then like what I would do when I was playing Outlast a lot was that I would like really interact with people as I was speed running, and so people would come in and be like, "Oh wow, like have you played this game before?" I was like, "Yeah, I played this before," and they're like, how are you paying attention and like knowing where you're going? I was like, I play this game like 800 times, but like, hey, how you doing? How's your day? You know? And then now it's kind of turned into a lot of retro games and a lot of like horror indie games that I've been getting into lately. So I do still play like AAA games every once in a while, you know, if it's something that really catches my eye. But like, yeah, I've been trying to find like just really fun things that like are different. You know what I mean? Because I think for my audience, like, you know, I can't just sit and play a game and that's it. Like there has to be some sort of like thing that makes it different or something that makes it quirky. So that like, for example, like on Thursdays we play like older games that are just like obscure games like that. Like, you know, I've played there's this game called Spider that came out for the PlayStation where literally you play as a spider running around in a lab. And I've also played Mary-Kate and Ashley's what is it? Mary-Kate and Ashley's, I have it here. Crash Course. That's what it is. Crash Course, which that game is like, you know, it's obviously made for like teenage girls, like in like the 2000s, but it's like playing it now and like seeing how cheesy it is. The jokes just make themselves. Yeah. So that's why I just
great
try
content
to go
all around. Right?
Great content. Yeah. Because especially like when people see that on TikTok, they're like, Oh, that's weird. Oh, why are you playing that? And then like they see where the comedy comes from.
Awesome. Okay, so two more questions for you before we go. As the industry grows, more and more students here are looking to enter the world of gaming and esports and streaming after graduation. What advice would you give them as they embark out into these industries?
Ooh, okay. Can you reread it one more time? Just want to make sure.
Yeah. So essentially, we have got a lot of students that are looking to this space, the gaming and streaming and esports space, after they graduate. What sort of advice would you give them as they embark out into those worlds?
Oh, okay. So I would say definitely if you are able to like create like a website like that showcases like all that you do would be great. I actually started a website about like a year ago that like showcases like, my bio, like brands I've worked with, like different like articles that I've been featured in. It's called, iamBrandon.tv. So like just having a portfolio is important because like when I graduated college, I did not have anything. So I was like, when people would ask me like, hey, where's your online work that we can see to review? I literally had nothing. And so that's kind of where my whole career started because I didn't have like that kind of portfolio to showcase to people. So I think having that ready to go for people will really show that you're really prepared to like work for a company. And also like, I think having a company in mind that you want to work for would be great. And I always say like, check out like the indie companies because they are always looking for people all the time. And I think they don't get enough love because like everybody's like, I want to work for PlayStation or I want to work for like 2K. But I think like, when I started working, like, especially in like game development, like I worked for an indie company that was like, they were releasing like AAA titles, but like, it was still the indie developer doing stuff. And I learned so much from that job. That was my second job in the gaming industry. Like I remember I was in meetings with like people from like Xbox and PlayStation. I got a lot of imposter syndrome, I would say, like when I worked that job, because I was like really like, oh, I'm just a streamer. Why am I sitting here? But that job really taught me so much about like what like these kind of bigger companies expect in like a smaller way because I was working at an indie company. But yeah, you could use so many of the skills that you do now. Like say if you like run events, like if you run esports tournaments and stuff like that, there's so many OGs out there that are looking for that, or just content creators who know what they're doing. Because I'll definitely say I definitely have like shared like on Twitter before, like there's a lot of jobs that are looking for, we need like a YouTube content creator who knows how to like, edit videos, post them on YouTube and get that all kind of stuff together. And that especially goes with community management as well. Yeah, very important. I would say if you know a lot about social media, especially when it comes to analytics and like, how to get engagement with people and stuff like that, that is a great like stepping stone to getting into community management. Because like community management could be a lot. It could be like we're organizing on Discord and talking to people on there, and then like posting on socials, or like reaching out to streamers to do different things. So I would say just like using the skills that you do have is very helpful, but definitely making sure you have a reference place to show that is so important. Don't do what I did and like do it afterwards, because it's gonna be hard. But yeah, if you start that up like now, and like even the stuff that you do in college is very helpful too. Like they're gonna want to see like all the work that you've done, because I mean you did it, so you might as well showcase it.
Awesome. Where do you see the future of influencers and Twitch streamers in like the next 5 years?
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's definitely gonna continue. Like there's so many streamers now who are now like working as hosts, who are like doing all these really big like mainstream events and stuff like that. So I think it's just good. It's gonna continue to grow. Like social media is not going anywhere, and especially the like for example the way that TikTok is growing, how people are instantly becoming celebrities because like they gain a following on TikTok. And now they're at these award shows and stuff like that. So I think it's going to continue to grow. And I think it's good for everybody to kind of like understand like influencer relations and how it works. Like, even if you don't want to work into that, it's good to understand from your own perspective of like, especially if a brand starts talking to you, or if anybody wants to reach out to you, of like how to navigate those situations, because like it's on a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, there are companies out there who will try to prey on people who don't know anything about content creation, and so they will take the first thing that comes into their email, and then it turns out to be a very bad deal where it's basically like the company is benefiting off of you and you get nothing from it, because that someone was trying to do that to me today actually. So that's why I was thinking about that. So I think the influencer market and streaming, it's going to continue. It's like, you know, especially now that it's kind of going into the mainstream. Like, you know, I walked into Target and there's like a streaming section now, which is wild. That's like insane. You know, they have like headsets, keyboards, mice, and like years ago people were like, what is Twitch? I don't know what that is. But it's just, you know, our lives are becoming a lot more digital, so it's easier for people to like connect with people, and people are starting to see the I guess the benefit of like working with Twitch or like YouTube or Facebook and all that kind of stuff, and how they can really interact with their audience and gain more of an audience through engagement. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Brandon. Ton of knowledge here. Can you share where people can find you if they want to track you down, watch your channel, and see all the things?
Yeah, so if you are here watching on Twitch, I will be on twitch.tv/iamBrandon later today. I'm on Twitter at iamBrandonTV. On Facebook at iamBrandonFB. I'm on TikTok at iamBrandonTV. I'm on Instagram at iamBrandonTV. Pretty much everything is iamBrandonTV mostly. So if you're looking for me on there, make sure you follow. I would love some more people to follow me on Instagram. That'd be great. Also on Twitter, like if you want to instantly connect with me, you'll see the kind of stuff that I post. I do like try to share job postings and stuff like that come through. Because I like, you know, luckily I've been able to work with a lot of people like in the gaming industry. So I try to share jobs I find on there, which they're always like looking for entry level all the time. So hint, make sure you follow me. And then I think I have my email like somewhere like in my little bio. Somewhere.
And it's on your website too, because
it's on my website too. Yeah, there you go. And I have a little like contact thing. So that is why you should have a website that features your stuff, because people can find you in that kind of way, and make sure you SEO it a lot, because like when people Google me, they find my website, which is really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Our next episode will feature Cora Kennedy, the director of esports at Illinois Wesleyan University, on June 23rd at 5 p.m. We will see you then. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your week.